Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Mikaela Titheridge from the Crafty Ink Pen, and I'm going to talk you through how to make this fun, flat, yet 3D pop-up card. I'm going to talk you through one that is slightly different in its embellishment, but the main mechanism is exactly the same. Now I'm going to be making use of both the Wintry Treetops bundle and also the Country Birdhouse bundle. So first and foremost, I've got all of my elements cut here or to size. I'll put the measurements down below for you, but I've got these to get me started. Now I'm going to cut this with you. This is a piece of A4 cardstock. There'll be measurements below, and I'm going to show you. This will look slightly confusing to begin with. This is what we will be working with. If I put it that way, you'll be able to get a screenshot of that for you to work back with. It looks a little confusing to start with, but I'll talk you through. I'm going to open up my trimmer, and firstly I need to cut my cardstock to this measurement. So I'm going to follow my centimetres. So I'm at 10.2 centimetres. The piece I've cut off is, I say discarded, is actually the same size, so it could be used to make a second card. And then I'm going to take it to 29.7, which actually for me is the full length of the card. If you were cutting this from 12 by 12, then you would need to make sure that that's correct for you. So then what I have done with this piece is follow the numbers that are in the circles. So our first score line that we're going to do is going to be at 4 centimetres. The inches measurements really are not kind, so you'll probably be better to see if you can follow the centimetres. So 4 centimetres, and then if we turn this way, I'm going to follow points 2 now, and we're going to work across here. So I'm going to 1.5 centimetres, score 8.7, 15.6, 15.5, 6. It's just the first little notch in the dark there, and 22.9. I'm going to bring this in. There's 1/3 point to do, which is on this side. So we're going to rotate that fully around so that I have it this way. I've now got the thicker part towards the bottom and the thin tab on the right hand side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along and I'm going to put a little marker at this point here, 3.4 and 17.5. So 3.4. Now you can either do a little pencil mark, you could do a little marker on the edge there. I'm going to do a little pencil mark actually, like that, and 17.5. It's a tiny bit after those markers actually, but we can get away with that. Now the other part that I'm going to do, there's a mechanism that I need to work with. So this is, and I'm going to actually cut this, although I could cut it from the excess white, I'm going to cut it from very vanilla. You'll see why when it comes to putting this together. It will be easier for you to see and understand a little bit more. So I would like a piece that is 3 centimetres by 9.2. So let's do 9.2 and cut by 3 centimetres. There we go. Okay, And again, follow the numbers in the circle. So I'm going to do my first score line up 1.5 centimetres. That's my first one. And then we'll rotate this round and follow 0.2. And I'm going to do a score line at 4.6, but I'm only coming halfway down, so just to the score line. Okay, so 4.6, and I'm just going to, nearly cut that then, just from the top. You can either do the top down or the bottom up, but only half of it just to the score line. And then the final point, 0.3, I want to score up 1 centimetre from either end. So I can use that right hand side of my trimmer to keep it nice and flat along the top there. I like to use that right hand side. So there's that. And as I say, when it comes to putting this together, it will just make it a little easier for you to see and understand when it's in a slightly different colour to the rest of it. So I've got that centre score line down the top now, and I'm going to come in from the bottom corner to the little cross score line on each side. Okay, and then we can take away that corner tab, and the same on the other side, like so. Okay, and then we can just cut down the middle there. Okay, that will form our little mechanism in time. So the next thing we want to do, we're going to bring in a ruler and a stylus. Let's just move that now. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to form the peaks of our kind of gable end of our little houses. So I'm going to put my stylus on this first cross point here, and I'm going to take it to the tip, the point that I marked. And I'm just going to take my ruler and my stylus. Now my grid paper, I work permanently on a silicone sheet underneath. It just gives a little bit of play when you're stamping. And so this is perfect for when you're trying to do manual scoring like this, because there's a little bit of give underneath. And you're going to do the same at this other point. So on the first box, skip one and then do it on the next one. So there, skip this one and do this one. So now we can do some cutting. So we're going to angle this, what will be a tab, and then we've got the other side of that tab. We can take out that little piece there. There'll be more coming out there, but it just helps you see it a little piece at a time. Now we're going to take away this whole piece now, right the way to that diagonal score line that I've just manually popped in there. Now you could use your paper trimmer. I do find scissors are just as easy. Sometimes I'll even use my really big scissors. And then what we're going to do, we've got this corner triangle to take off, and then this whole piece in between the 2 points. These are the roof lines. So again, follow that line down and across and up, and now this final point there. So there we go, there's that. I'm not going to fold along these score lines, but I am going to fold along the vertical score lines. Okay, and if you can see now, that is the beginning of the house structure. So let's just give a little bit of reinforcement to some of these lines. Once I've got you with the base made, you are kind of then free rein here to then design and colour and embellish as you want. But I just thought it's handy to see this part. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach that to there. So we need to put some tear and tape or liquid glue or whatever down there. I'm going to use tear and tape, and although you can tear it, I have a habit of still using my scissors even though you can tear. And then take the backing off, and then we can pull that straight over and making sure that's all lined up. There we go. That is the beginning of the house structure. This is how we're going to pop this little mechanism in. So you want to push one of these tabs backwards, one forwards. Now these little tiny side triangular tabs are all you are going to be adhering this to the base box with. So I like to do this with glue dots. I just find this a whole lot easier. So I'm going to pick up a glue dot from there and pop it on the reverse side of just that little. By only using glue dots, it does kind of restrict me. So I'm less likely to adhere this whole thing and find that I then can't open it. This is the bit that does all the magic and holds the whole thing together with the roof, and then the roof gets attached to these pieces here. So I'm going to slot that in under there. I'm going to be lining up this centre score line, kind of roughly speaking, with the points of the gable ends, and the vertical line there, again, roughly. I say roughly, don't worry if it's not absolutely on the money, but as close as. So I'm going to take that under there. It's all a little bit fingers and thumbs actually. Let's pull that up, and then I haven't got to keep tucking it under. And that end, there we go, and there we go. So that should now be able to just put that down a fraction, so I can do a little bit of jiggery pokery and move that around. Just make sure it goes nice and flat. And there we go, that's better. You see, that can now fold either way. So now what have we got? I've got a piece of cardstock here that will form our roof. Let's just move that, and I'm just going to fold that in half. And then I'm going to do the same with my designer series paper that I've chosen to be my roof. This is very, very fractionally wider than my piece of card. Now, the only reason I'm using the card as well is to help give a little strength and rigidity to this. So let us pop our roof on. Let's just take that into the fold, and it will overlap either side just a fraction, just a hair's whisker. There we go, there's that. And then we are going to add this. This is where the magic happens. We're going to add this inside here, kind of centrally across there. So it will only adhere on this part and on the other tab beneath. let's just, I'm going to use some tear and tape again. That is the base structure of this card. So then it is down to you to embellish as you wish. Now, as I say, I've used the country birdhouse and wintry treetops to make a little bit of a Christmas themed birdhouse here. Let's get that in place, close that down, and there we have our little 3D. It will, the more you kind of play with it, the more it will settle, if you see what I mean. Obviously I've got a seam there, so I would choose that as my back, but that is my little house, which when folded flat will fit into a standard size envelope, and then when the recipient receives it, they pop it up and you can write your message on the back panel and decorate the front as you wish. So let's get decorating. So on here I'm going to bring in, this is the Country Woods Designer Series paper, and I'm going to use the Country Birdhouse main stamp there. Ink this up. And stamp that onto there. Then we can die cut that. We have the main outside body of this, and then there is a circle that will cut out the little hole that the bird will go into. Now there we go. That is going to, in time, go in under here. And what I'm also going to do is I've pulled in some additional pieces of paper that I've cut to size to put down the side here, so they can actually be stuck straight on. Again, all the measurements for these will be beneath. And there's the other side. That's my back. And there's my front. So from another piece of Country Woods, I am going to die cut a couple of pieces. I'm going to die cut, let's have a look. A piece to go underneath the eaves and a fancy piece. With what's left, we will pop that behind here, and I'll punch out a hole to go as our little stand that he wants to, our little bird will sit on. And then I've brought in, I happen to have a scrap of copper foil, which I'm going to make use of here. We sadly no longer have the copper foil, but it's fabulous and I've got some left, so I'm going to make use of that. So there's the little fancy piece. I'm going to do a copper piece in between, and then another piece like that underneath. That's going underneath the eaves of the roof. I'd completely forgotten about this piece, so I've just die cut another, grabbed another little scrap. This will go in behind here just to add a little bit of depth of field, and I've got room here to do a little punch. Now if I check that's empty, so if I now punch a circle out from the corner, I can then take that out and make use of that. That is a whole lot easier than die cutting the tiniest little sliver. So let me get a mini dimensional, and I've gone for a black one, and now that's in place. You see how much easier that is? And then we will stick this in behind. So I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue like so. There we go. I've got some dimensionals on this additional piece that I nearly forgot. Now this, when we bring this together, I'm going to do this with dimensionals. So what I've done here is turning it on the reverse and nesting those two up to each other. I'm then going to bring in a large dimensional to adhere them together from the reverse. Okay, then we can stick this over the join. There we go. Now we're going to stick this down onto our little house. Now the roof line isn't absolutely perfect, so that's why I'm showing this up to here now, and I'm going to bring it so that this will sit as high up as possible. I don't mind it not sitting at the bottom, but I'm concerned more so for the top to be right. I'm going up kind of as high as I possibly can there, and that will sit up under there, just fractionally up from the bottom this is. So we can stick this down. Like so. Okay, cute. Right, then I'm going to work on some basic beige. The reason I've chosen this is because I felt like I wanted the colour to be a little bit more mottled. I didn't want it to be too vibrant. So I am now moving over to using wintry treetops, and I'm going to use this lovely sprig here and this single bird. I'm going to try and make him look a little bit like a robin. So let's just, that was a bit dirty that side. I'm going to do a couple of these. I may or may not use both, but I'm better to have them than not. Then let's do the single bird. Now I'm not actually using the double birds. I'm actually looking at the berries that are in the corner here. So I'm going to ink up the kind of the bottom part of this and pop that there. I may need another one, possibly. We'll see. So let's get colouring these. So I'm going to do my leaves with Old Olive, and I'm going to use the brush end on the larger leaves here. And then I've got dark Old Olive here, which I'm going to use on all of these smaller leaves, much tinier. I'm not doing any crazy blending. I'm just colouring in. There we go. If you want to add any more kind of blending, you could add a little bit of shading to the base of these leaves, but I'm not going to go crazy in my blending here. This video is more about the technique of making the card than it is about the colouring. Now I'm going to bring in some Poppy Parade, a nice bright. I'm going to do light first of all on all of these little berries. There we go. And then I shall do all of these other berries. I'll probably give those ones a miss because I don't think I will cut that part out to use. Then we'll bring in some of the dark Poppy Parade, and that is where you can add a tiny little bit of shading to just make it look a little more curved. If you don't feel that that is dark enough, I have set beside me a light cherry cobbler. Let's just see how this fares. That's a little bit better actually. There we go. Right, in fact I need the reds in a moment. I'm going to use a dark lemon lolly for his little beak. And I've got pecan pie, both light and dark, that I'm going to use for all the branches and his little feet as well. Now I may bring some of this in for the bird itself, but I'm going to colour the bird first and then decide if I want to add touches. So dark, and I'm just following the line of where I think shadowing will be because of where the bird is casting shadow, or just a little bit to make it look interesting. Right, then I want to go for dark Poppy Parade. I'm going to try and make this bird look a little robin-like. I think in fairness it is supposed to be a cardinal, but I'm going to try and just right, crumb cake, and I'm going to, in fact I'll do some dark crumb cake first underneath the bottom part of his wing, just around the outside of his head and down under here, under his little tummy. That's the dark. Now we'll bring in light. You see how it changes some of that colour of the red, the way it blends in. It almost acts a little bit like the colour lifter. So now I'm going to bring in a little bit of pecan pie, add a bit of warmth to this, because by nature robins have got red in them, so they kind of need a bit more red in the browns. So we'll bring that in. What's this? Dark. There we go. And I think that's about all. So let's get this die cutting. We've got a die. I'll put that one on there to start with. We've got our single bird. And then we've got another one here, which is a, I've got to get this right. It's a double one, but we may have to die cut this first and this first and then go back in. So let me just do that. There we go. There are all of our elements. And now I'm going to just get rid of the bits on here that I don't want. Now some of this may not be seen, but nonetheless, I'm just going to clear those away to start with. Just want to look at his little face. I feel like he's needs, that's better. Much better. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull this to disguise these little sides here a little bit. I'm going to do that. Now I don't want to interfere with any of the mechanism, so you just need to be mindful of that. I'm looking for my dimensionals. There we go. Then I'm going to pop him, I'm not popping him up on there, I'm actually going to have him sat down here actually, because again it helps to cover that area. And then I'm going to, which way shall I have that? I may have to cut that short actually, because I think actually I might do it that way. And that is our little robin. Now I've cut these pieces because I thought you could always just embellish a side if you wanted to, or you could embellish the back. I don't think I'm actually going to use it because I think I quite like the side plain. So I'm going to leave it there. And I think I'm quite happy with that. And then we will just, I just need to find a sentiment. I'm thinking of pulling one, perhaps just season's greetings from the greetings of the season that I can just perhaps stamp there and then leave the rest of the space for me to write my message. But there we go. That is how to make your little card that folds flat and then will in time pop up to be a little 3D Christmas card. I really hope you like that.